Or if there's anything that Suhail or Manjari wants to talk about to the participants, we can do that as well.
In the discussion forum under mating behavior, I saw some questions which came up later. So should I discuss that, or maybe
Sure.
put it there itself? What should I do?
We can discuss that, I think.
Okay, since until there is some questions for the next set of lectures. So there was one question about brood parasitism and egg mimicry, where someone asked whether parasitic birds can mimic the egg every time with alterations depending on the chosen host. I think what they mean is, can the same brood parasite have different kind of eggs depending upon who its host is? So for brood parasitism, there can be two different strategies. One is when you're a specialist brood parasite, where you specialize to parasitize certain particular kinds of hosts. Then, of course, you will have a match between the host eggs and the brood parasite, and also some adaptations for the strategies to parasitize the host. But there are what we call a generalist brood parasites, and they can have, again, different strategies. One strategy is where you are like a jack of all trades, is what they call it, where the host, there is no specific host for the generalist brood parasites, but you may have a general shape, size, pattern of the egg, which allows you to parasitize multiple other hosts. So you may have a specific kind of egg pattern which is targeted towards a particular host, a primary host, but because that pattern is also common across many other species, then you can parasitize other species also. But there are some cuckoos in which people have found that there are different hosts and races of these mimics. And the same species then has different patterns depending upon who its host is in different parts. So this can happen. Then, so all other questions were related to this, whether parasites targets a particular species as the host, or can they do it for multiple different hosts? So they can have, there are generalist parasites and also specialists. Why can't the host female take a note of how many eggs are laid? So this is again, it's not a parsimonious way to avoid parasitism. So count, one will have to figure out whether animals can count and whether they can make the difference between 4 versus 3, remember it, so on and so forth. But more specifically, rejecting an egg can actually, one can ask, why haven't the hosts, can you mute yourself? HI, yeah. So one can ask whether the host, why don't the host evolve mechanisms to reject the parasite? Yes, they do. There are several cases in which this does happen. But again, between host and parasite, it depends upon how much time has passed in evolutionary time for such co-evolution to happen. Moreover, rejecting an egg or taking any measures to discriminate against a young one in your own nest can be very costly to the host. So this is also one thing that keeps parasitism in place. So it is not something they can override that easily, because it might mean that they might sometimes reject their own offsprings. Then, yeah, there are several other questions about this. Is there an overlap between the egg laying period and the host and parasite? Yes, of course, they have to be breeding at the same time. Otherwise, it doesn't help. Or some other question, can host adapt to laying different types of eggs? As in, I didn't quite get the question here. The person has asked, can host adapt to laying different types of egg? As in, now the host has to change its egg patterns to reject parasites. One would expect that should not stop coevolution, right? So if the parasite has over evolutionary time mimicked the host eggs, it will happen again. So yeah, these were some of the questions about host brood parasitism. Then there were 2 questions about alloparenting and cooperative breeding. One question was whether the trait is similar to the joint family in humans. Yes and no. So in humans, typically there are multiple generations of family members living in the nest. So you'll have grandparents, you can have parents and siblings, but typically in cooperative breeders, you will have the breeding pair and its own offsprings who choose to stay back or may leave. Unlike human families where you have whatever uncle, aunts, nieces, great grandparents, grandparents. So it doesn't work that way. But you can say similar in terms of providing care. So they do all provide care for the young ones. There is another question. Is there any study about the age distribution of caretakers? Are they fully mature for breeding for that species? Yes. And in fact, I did talk about it in the lectures also, that after reaching sexual maturity, the question really arises, why stay back when you can leave and establish your own territory or start your own independent breeding? So yes, it's after they reach maturity. So here there's one question, maybe you can answer this best. It says Baya weavers' nests can be seen hanging on the edge of coconut tree branches near big farmlands, and the nest is easily viewable for predators like shikra. Could you please help on understanding a different perspective based on the study mentioned how these nests are felt on safe locations?
Thanks, Manjari.
I quoted your study.
Maybe built on safe locations. I don't know. Can you hear me? I mean, I'm out in the field, so I don't have a good internet connection.
There's a lot of disturbance because of the wind.
There's wind. Okay, let me just try and get behind some shelter. Yeah, I think that for Baya weavers, it's the safety in terms of location. So weaver birds are colony nesters. So colony nesters anyway are going to have very prominent nests. The colony is very prominent because there are many nests together. So colony breeders need to have other forms of defense. And oddly, I mean, I don't know why this is the case, but raptors like shikras and all don't seem to attack the nests. The biggest dangers are things like monkeys and snakes. And so by building the nests in relatively inaccessible locations, you know, in the tips of branches of thorny trees or on the tips of coconut fronds high above the ground or the water, it seems to provide deterrence from these kinds of terrestrial predators, because those are the predators that seem to be important, not the aerial predators. Thanks, Manjari.
Devika, are there any other questions? Sonia, are there any other questions?
Hi. One more questions in the discussion forum. Said, do you want to explain it here, or there are questions coming up on the chat box also? Shall I?
So now we can take the discussion forum question first.
Okay. Then the next question is, given that the spotted sandpiper is polyandrous, not sure about the role played by female rejection of EPC, that is, I think, extra pair copulation. Soon female aim for matings with more males. Also not sure how EPC is defined here when the mating system is not monogamy.
Okay, so in the spotted sandpiper, what happens? The reason why the females can mate with multiple males, and the reason why we see polyandry and male parental care, actually, so paternal care, is because the females are physiologically capable of developing multiple eggs in the same breeding season. So it's not as there is a physiological, in many other species, as we discussed, there's a physiological limit to the number of gametes you can produce in a reproductive event. So in the case of spotted sandpiper, the females will mate with one male, and so and in birds, as you know, there's internal fertilization, lay the eggs. Okay, once the eggs are laid, then the female leaves for next set of mating. So extra pair copulations will only happen, or we consider it to be an extra pair copulation pre-laying. So after the eggs have been laid, if the female mates again, but that set of eggs, the paternity can be ensured still. So therefore, it still works for the spotted sandpiper. Anything else, Sonia?
This was for the last lecture. I think for this week there are no questions in the discussion forum so far, so we can, I think, start addressing the question in the chat box now. So
yeah, so I saw one on the Asian quail laying the eggs in crow's nest, but not all crow's nests are used for parasitism. Well, when you say not all crow's nests are used for parasitism, you mean not all individual crows are parasitized? Is that what you mean? In a particular area, it's not as though all the nests will be parasitized. Is that what you mean, or you mean different species?
No, sir, no, ma'am. In my area, I have observed around 11 crow nest. Out of that 11 crow nest, only one has been parasitized, ma'am. Like I saw a young coil being, fledgling coil being fed by the crow, but not the other 10. All were nearby in the same area. I mean, how does they select which nest to be parasitized, or how this system works? Because out of 10, only one has been chosen. That was a doubt in my mind. That's why I asked.
So maybe there is only one female quail who needs to find a home, right? If there were 10 and all 10 were laying in the same crow's nest, then there's a question, right? Otherwise, suppose you want to eat mangoes,
Okay.
and you go to the garden, there are 70 mango trees.
Okay.
And you find one and your work is done. So that is one explanation. But otherwise also, in a more general sense, cheater strategies can only
Okay.
exist if they are sufficiently low in frequency. And that is why brood parasitism still works, because the cost is not that high in terms of, individuals. If their nests are getting parasitized all the time, you would expect that the receivers or the hosts, they would evolve counter strategies, because the incidence of cheaters or the brood parasites are lower than the hosts. Therefore, this is sustainable in some sense, right?
So,
Otherwise, it will be selected
then
out.
we can say that the other 9 crow nest were successfully able to evade parasitism. Only
Or
one.
the quail found the one that was nearest, it worked, and didn't try anywhere else.
Okay.
The other crows did not have to evade. The host,
okay.
the host did not have to make any effort. The never did.
Yeah, because I saw this group of nest in railway station, ma'am. The whole railway station from start to end, there were around around 11 to 12 crow nest, in which one was unused. The other 11, there were chicks and everything, various stages of things. So I was intrigued why the one was attacked and not the other four. Or were they successful enough to evade them? So that's why I asked.
Suhail wants to add something.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because brood parasites don't pay the cost of raising the young. That's why they tend to be able to produce many eggs and distribute these eggs in many host nests. So we don't know for quails, but in the common cuckoo, the Eurasian cuckoo, females can lay 20 or 30 eggs in a season. So even if there's only one female cuckoo and there are 20 or 30 hosts, in principle, all of those hosts could be parasitized. But the funny thing is that in the quail, actually you find the same crow nest being parasitized multiple times. You might find 2 or 3 or 4 quail eggs in the same nest. And the record, when we've done a study, the record we found was 13 quail eggs in one crow nest. So, and then there are, of course, as you say, Lakshmi, many crow nests which are not parasitized. So while, we would first try and imagine, okay, there are not that many coils, so obviously some crows will escape. But in this case, it seems like the females are choosing, targeting particular crow nests and leaving out other crow nests. And that's a very interesting question, and nobody knows the answer why. One possibility, like Manjri says, is that, you just find the first nest and the closest nest or the easiest nest, maybe the one that's most exposed or the one that's closest to a tree where you can hide. Because quails, as you know, are chased by crows and maybe even attacked and killed by crows. So if there are crow nests that are in a cluster where there are many crows around, it may be more dangerous for females to lay. And other isolated crow nests may be more easy for crows to lay in. But all this is just a speculation. We don't actually know the answer, and that's a really nice question. Thanks, Lakshmi. But somebody needs to find the answer to this.
Thank you, sir.
Sonia, if there are no other questions for me, can I leave? I have to attend another meeting.
I think, okay, ma'am. If there is any questions, I think we can address from discussion forum, if that is okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, then.
Okay, thank you. Bye, Suhail. Bye, Devika.
Bye, Manjri.
Bye, thanks, Manjri.
Sonia, I'm out in the field. In fact, I'm going to switch my video on briefly to show you where I am, but I have poor internet, so
I'll stay on to see.
I'll stay. Okay. So I'm in a wetland in northwest India, and in front of me, you can't see them. There are about 5,000 demoiselle cranes.
Wow.
I won't tell you.
Yeah, we can see.
You can guess where I am, but I'll switch off the video. So because I'm here and on my phone, Sonia, if you can just, from the discussion forum or whatever source, chat or anything, if you can read out the question to me, that will be very helpful.
Yeah, sure.
If there are any questions. I don't think I have any questions for me.
So far, I think we will inform questions.
In the meantime, if somebody has any guesses for where I might be, then you're welcome to type it in the chat box.
You mean those who are taking the course or even the instructors?
Well, anybody, I suppose, but first maybe the students, yeah.
Okay.
No, not Bharatpur. I don't think you get many cranes in Bharatpur. So 5,000 demos.
Also, the environment, I mean, the habitat should give away a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, Bharatpur has many more trees, much more wooded, and bunds that break up large patches of water. You had a meeting, Manjari, or not leaving?
I should leave, really. But I'm just waiting for this guy. I mean, 5:30, the other one starts, so I'm just...
I see. Okay. Khichan, no, not Khichan. Khichan is just next to a village. You will see lots of village buildings and then a big enclosure, and there the cranes be there, all in one group. So this is not Khichan. Rajasthan somewhere is too vague. I'm sorry, Anshul. That's not.
You tell some other large mammals that can be found there, maybe then you.
This place is not known for large mammals, actually. There might be some nilgai around, but some small mammals, fox and things, not very well known for large mammals. It's a well known.
So not Tal Chapar.
Not Tal Chapar, no.
Someone says Greater Run.
Okay, getting closer, but no, not LRK, not GRK. Okay, but we are getting distracted. Actually, if there are questions about the course and the content, that would be more relevant.
Okay, bye-bye. I'll leave now.
Okay, see you, Manjari. Thanks. So, Sonia, I think if there aren't any questions about the, this was the lecture on asking and answering questions, no?
Yeah, methods and
Methods of science
answering.
and yeah. So then we can close it. People can ask later on in the discussion forum, and I can answer over there.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, that can be done, I guess.
yeah.
Okay then,
But Suhail, before we leave, I think you should tell them where you are.
I mean, people have to guess a little better, yeah. I mean, I don't feel like giving it away just like this. Maybe we can get some guesses on the discussion forum.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll show the video. I'll put my video on once more, so you can see the water, you can see the reeds, shallow water. There's some Dalmatian pelicans. I don't know if you can see them. Cranes. Unfortunately, it's all too far away. So it's a vast area of shallow, inundated water and vegetation. I suppose the run was a good question, but I don't know if it looks like this. I've never been there.
Sachin
Okay,
asked
there we
if you're in Gujarat.
Hmm?
There's
Yeah,
a-
see, you can say Rajasthan, Gujarat, Punjab. I mean, you know, don't guess at state level. Okay, maybe I'll say fine. It's Gujarat. ठीक है. So then you have to say within Gujarat where. Anyway, you guys think about it, and we can close the meeting now. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Suhail.
Okay. Thanks, Erika. Thanks, Sonia. Thanks, everybody.
thanks.
Bye. Bye.